So Tim, tell us a little bit about your team, your program. What should we know?
Um, well, Finesse is one of the premier programs in Michigan. When you look around the country, they're one of the most well-known organizations out
Hmm.
there. And this is my first year with the organization. I am a strictly '08 team, as you guys are. Um, and we've got a lot of talented girls.
Yeah.
Just, you know, eager to learn and super what's the word I'm looking for? Motivated, I guess would be the
Yeah.
word, especially, seeing what they're doing right now when a lot of teams are shutting it down and they're going hard and they're chomping at the bit to get back out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes you proud as a coach, you
Yeah.
know? Part of it is thanking the parents, like, thank you for raising such amazing kids. But part of it is feeling like, okay, maybe we're doing something right in having all these girls that, I'm sure our teams are very, very similar in the makeup of our kids and their competitiveness, and they've
Yes.
all got this fierceness about them. And I know my girls, as much as they want to complain and whine and oh, I'm so bored, they don't. They show up and they do the work and they don't complain, and it's just such a rewarding feeling to know that you're surrounded by people that are just such good people.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've been blessed with this year. One of the big things I said at the very beginning of the year when I was putting this team together was I want families. I'm
Mhm.
not just taking kids, I'm taking families because you know just how, hectic this schedule
Yeah.
gets. You want to be around people that, share the same interests as you, share the same common goal. To me, that was huge. And when I started putting it together, I mean, it's been crazy. This is by far one of the best years of parents that I've dealt with.
Hmm.
Um, no issues. Everyone gets along great. Everyone wants to be together, and I mean, we're having parent Zoom meetings, and you
Oh,
know,
that's awesome.
it's a little bit more than Gatorade being passed around. So, it's been
Right.
a great, off season, I guess you would call, with the parents
Sure.
and things like that. But I mean, everyone's in agreement. It's time, man. We're
Oh, yes.
itching.
Yes. So, I said this a little bit with Coach Davis last week. Now that they're tens and we're 11s, we don't see their team as much. They were a finesse team as well. So, like you said,
Yes.
finesse is a name. Doesn't matter where you go. People know who finesse is. They know what they are. Very competitive programs and lots of girls to play college ball. But I would say that this year, for this season, I would say for our team, you guys are our rivals, and
Okay.
that's said in the most fun way. I think that when I think of rival, I think who is the team that we get pumped up the most to play. And when I think of that, I think of you guys. You're the first team that comes to mind. You're our favorite to suit up against. I think we have the most energy against you. So I had somebody comment earlier, like, rivals, you guys are rivals. Doesn't that mean you like don't like each other? And no, not at all. So tell me a little bit about kind of who you guys see as your competition and your rivals this year.
Um, as far as teams we've seen a lot, it seemed like SGS Magic was definitely one of those teams that, I mean, every tournament that we were in, they were in, and
Yes.
somehow, some way, we were going to play them. I think we played them twice at PGF. We
Mm-hmm.
played them in Ohio in our very first tournament of the year.
Yep.
Um, and then we had them on this. We played them again twice in our indoor President's Day tournament. I think we played them almost 5 times this year,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and we had them on the schedule again for Galleon that just got canceled.
Yep.
That we were supposed to play last weekend, but we had them on the schedule again. So as far as teams that we've seen and distance wise,
Mm-hmm.
they're only an hour away, so we
Right.
play them a ton. As far as in the state of Michigan, um, it's you guys. I mean, for obvious reasons, the talent level, just kind of you guys are on the west side, we're on the east side, and it's kind of a
Right.
clashing of, let's meet in the
Yeah.
middle and figure this out. And this is something myself and Jeff talked about a little bit too, just the biggest part of this not happening and the season not happening right now is just how many games we're missing against each other because
Yeah.
iron sharpens iron. So
Hmm.
if you want to get better, you have to play the best. That's the only way to get better. It's not about going out there and winning a bunch of games. It's about challenging yourself. It's about putting yourself up against people view as people that can make your kids better. And, you know, there was a comment I made to a parent at the beginning of the year that every single game that we play should be at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. underneath the lights because that's the intensity and, you know, feel you're going to get. You know, it's got that big fight feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's why we do it, right? I mean, there are a lot of tournaments, and I hesitate to say this because depending on who's watching, there are a lot of tournaments that we could play in that we feel like we could win or we should win. On paper, we should absolutely win some of these tournaments. And we talked at the beginning of the year, those aren't we don't want to go to those. We don't want to go to the tournaments that we know we're going to win. That's not any fun. We don't train this
Right.
hard and work this hard to go simply pick up a trophy. That is not what it's about for us. It just isn't. While winning is fun and it's important, it is not the most important thing that we talk about. It's not the highest priority on our list. We want to play teams that are going to challenge us. When we walk away from games, I don't want to be like, we did all these things right. I'm always thinking, what could we have done better? It doesn't matter if we win 20-0. There will always be a list of things that I'm putting together that weren't good enough that we have to be better at. So I think that we're passing some of those things on to our girls by demanding that we do play the finesses, and we do play the mojos, and we are traveling to see the best teams there are. So
Yeah, and honestly, with all this, I'm really concerned now with the way tournament directors are going to do things, and just,
mhm.
hopefully still getting to play those. I mean, I know you guys are going to
Yeah.
Tennessee, and we're going to Atlanta for the 11U Fast Pitch Nationals, and I'm hoping we get to
Mhm.
play those because I want to play those teams. I want to go down there and I want to see what it's like, and I want to see where we stack
Absolutely.
up against those teams in that region because I mean that's the hotbed. That's where everyone's at, man. Once you start getting south
Yeah,
and west, man, the Midwest doesn't quite always stack up so well against that. So I wanna fight with them and battle it out.
absolutely. And know where you stand.
Yeah.
So I don't know, where do you sit as far as like, hey, this is 11U. Yes, 11U is important, but 12U is where you go. 12U is where you're playing for the big titles. And so how do you view this year as far as, is this just a preparation year? You're in your first year, so are you still kind of trying to feel it out, see who fits where? I mean, what are your thoughts about 11U versus 12U?
Um, that's a rough question because there's a lot
I
that
didn't put
goes
this on the
into that.
list. Sorry.
No, hey, it's okay. Because I view it two different ways. I do view 11U as a building year and a development year because I do believe that you can stay a little closer to home and play some of the better
Mhm.
12s and you'll still get some really good competition. I mean, we've got hammered
Sure.
by, Hool, we've got hammered by G, Lady Irish
Yeah.
'07s, wiped the floor with us. We can stay a little bit more local and still, you know, take the beatings that you kind of need at this
Sure.
age group to get tougher, to figure things out and develop. I do view it as a development year. I truly do. With that being said, if you ask any girl on my team, everything's play to win when it's Sunday. And there's,
Sure.
oh, it's very excitable, I guess would be a not
Yeah.
word that you could make up, but it's it's one of those things that it's a fine line because you know that you're going to have the disadvantage against the better 12s, but you also
Hmm.
know what your team's capable of because being one of the better 11s, it's like, okay, let's push it. Let's push it a little harder. Let's see where we stack up.
Hmm.
Let's play this
Yep.
one, full bracket, go. Let's go. Nine kids in a lineup on bracket days, best nine play the field, which doesn't always mean best nine hitting. So it's
Right.
it's it's kind of that it's a balance. And then as a coach, it's a struggle sometimes because you really want to balance out the development part of this year with
Hmm.
the, you know, hey, let's go win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, when you're 11, you want to win. Winning is important to you. You want all this hard work and all the sacrifices that you make and the time that you put in. As a coach, you want your kids to feel the rewards of that. You want them to win in order to feel like, okay, it's all working. But on the flip side of that, as a coach, that winning doesn't mean anything. Again, go to tournaments that you're going to win it all. What does that teach them? It doesn't teach them that they
Right.
have to work any harder. So sometimes our job becomes putting these kids in a position where they have to lose. You're going to play the best 12U team there is. I want to see if they're supposed to beat us, and great, pressure's on them, not on us. What is the point now? The point is to don't back down, right? If it's
Right.
not about winning, don't back down. Don't be scared. Prove to them that you belong on the field with them. And I think sometimes it's tough, maybe even more tough. We played Texas Glory, the 12U, in the spring, in the two games that we got to play, and we lost 2-0 to them, and they're a darn good team.
Yeah.
And leaving, you as a coach, hey, that right there is a win. A 2-0 loss is a
Yeah.
win in an 11U book. But then it's okay. But next time, how do we make it 1-0, or how do we win that game? How do
Right.
we teach these girls that, hey, what are you gonna do to make sure next time it's even closer than that? So that's certainly a challenge that I always feel as a coach, and I think it's something that's always on your mind if you're in this position, is how are we taking our kids to the next level, not just in terms of winning, but with that mentality of wanting to win and wanting to get better.
Yeah.
Um, so I would ask you, so for your 11U season, if at the end of the season you felt like, what, this was a great year, what would have to happen for you to feel that way? Like, what would you guys need to accomplish for you to be like, that was what, I'll take it. That was a good year.
Um, it wouldn't be in the win loss column. I can say it would not be the win loss column at all. I think if the girls came in and they leave better than they came, if they show up and something we harp on hardcore is play before the play, play after the play. Okay, I don't want the regular play. I don't want the ground ball to second, throw to one, be done with it. No, I want the ground ball to second, throw to one. One's looking to back pick the girl at two, and we're
Mm-hmm.
off and running. And that's something that I've really pushed this year is be aggressive. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. If you throw it in the left field, you throw it in the left field. Will we talk about it after? Absolutely, we will. But don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't play scared. And if these girls walk away and they're just, playing with such an aggressive nature and they leave better than they came and they understand the game inside and out more than just what the first play is, to me, that's a win. As far as,
Mm-hmm.
putting a number on anything, it's hard to put a number on just because now,
That's right.
especially not knowing what tournaments are we going to be, stuck playing more regional stuff now? Are we going to be able to
Exactly.
still branch out? That
Yeah.
that part is still going to be, remains to be seen. But thus far, I feel like we are ahead of the program. I think we are ahead of where I thought we'd be at this point. Um, on paper, numbers wise and mindset wise, I truly do believe that we were on a path that, we were going to surpass where I thought we'd be at the end of the year, by at
Fair.
least 2 to 3 months worth of, softball knowledge.
Right. Right. So how do your expectations change now with all of this? Your girls get out in their first tournament. We haven't seen each other in, I don't even know how long now. I mean, in terms of like really being together and being able to practice and turning double plays, and just those our play calling that I feel like the 57 plays that we had, the girls were just catching on to, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's one thing to read them on paper or to draw them up. It's a totally different thing to call out plays when you're standing by yourself in your bedroom versus being on the field with your teammates. So
Yeah.
how do you see, what do you expect to be different in your first couple of tournaments versus had you started playing 4 weeks ago?
I expect mistakes. I think that you're gonna have the physical mistakes. Um, Luckily we've been really hammering the Zoom. I mean, we're 3 times a week on Zoom right now, and we're talking approach at the plate. We're talking, whiteboard material. Um,
Sure.
we're doing hitting. We're trying to keep everything as sharp as we can. I feel like the thing that might be missing the most when we get outdoors is going to be the cohesiveness. I know
Mm-hmm.
where you're going to be. If I feed you and you're coming across
Yeah.
on the back side of the bag and I backflip, I got to hit you on the glove side, coming on the back side of the bag. Just the timing. I think that's going to be the
Yeah.
biggest thing that every team's going to go through is going to be the timing. That's for
Yeah.
me the thing that I'm the most scared of. And I even saw it. I took mine out to hit the other day, and the first round, whoo, seeing something
Yes.
moving
Yes.
at you, it was like, okay, that ball on the tee, you crushed that. That's pretty
Yeah.
sweet. But that first round of front toss, by the time we were done, I mean, business as usual. But
Sure.
just getting back into the swing of things with timing is going to be, for me, the biggest thing I look to address. As soon as we come out of the gate, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be right back to fundamentals. It's going to be
Yep.
hundreds and hundreds of ground balls, flip double
Yep.
plays. Let's throw the ball around. There's not going to be much extra stuff. It's going to be basic fundamentals. Get back in the swing of things. And
Absolutely.
I feel mindset wise we'll be where we're at, because we are still kind of banging away at the drum on that, on the
Yeah.
side.
Yep. I feel one of the, and I don't coach boys, so I don't know a lot. This is just kind of an observation from what I see from male coaches and males to females. I really feel like so much of what makes my team in particular as successful as we have been in the past is how much these girls love each other. I think that so much of what happens in the game of softball is about momentum, and
Yep.
momentum changes based on who has whose back, what teammate is picking the other teammate up, because I'm sure you have a similar mantra. I heard you say it. Ours is so what, now what, because so many times our girls are just so upset with themselves about the mistakes that they make, and it's having that so what, now what, like who cares what just happened, what are we going to do now. And girls, in my opinion, based on a lot of experience personally and both seeing, and raising a bunch of athletes, is that girls need other girls to tell them they believe in them. That is what inspires girls to
Boom.
hit better, to feel better, to pitch better, to catch better, is having that teammate behind you saying, I believe in you. You can do this. And I think it really takes a lot, especially in a situation like this, when we're going to come out and these girls are going to be nervous. They're going to put the pressure on themselves. They're going to wonder if they've worked hard enough. All this preaching to, stay ready, be ready. They're going to step in the box that first time and be like, oh my, it's going to be a totally new feeling. So
Yeah.
to have teammates and to keep them together and to keep them, loving on each other and supporting each other, I think is one of the is just as important as how many swings are we taking off the tee and how many
Yeah.
ground balls did you take this week. Have you checked in on your teammate? Have you let her know that you're still here? Ask her how she's doing. So
Yeah, that's
super, super
huge.
important, especially. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
that's so big, and we talk about that, and I tell the girls all the time, nothing I say to you is going to mean as much as what a teammate says to you. There's no better
Mm-hmm.
compliment than getting it from your
Exactly.
peers. If your peers
Yeah,
view you as
absolutely.
something, that's what you need to worry about. Not what I view you. What do your peers view you as? What do your teammates view you as?
Mm-hmm.
Because I could think you're awesome, but if the 10 girls that are standing behind me don't think you're awesome, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to run into some problems there. So,
Yeah.
how you treat them also goes a long way too. So it
Yeah.
just, and I'm 100% with you on the girls versus boys thing. There is 0% chance I could ever coach boys. It just would not happen. I have seen so many baseball games, and I so prefer to coach girls. It's a night and day difference, and I think
Yeah,
they're more open to listen, and
sure,
they're hungry for knowledge, whereas boys kind of have that swagger. I know everything. Not saying some girls don't
sure.
have that, but
Right, right.
girls will listen and they
Mhm.
seem hungrier to learn. And for
Yeah,
me, that goes a long way. And that's what I really like about coaching girls.
yeah. I do. I do too. I think it's all about, confidence and developing confidence and believing. And I think if you can let a girl know that you love them and you believe in them, I think that they're willing to work so much harder. Um, for that simple reason, they just want to prove to you that they're worthy of that, and that's what I love about our group of girls. So, and I know, like I said, I know yours is super similar.
Yeah.
So tell me, Tim, I know for my girls, it's really important. We talk with coaches. We have what's called a depth chart to let the girls kind of know where they stand in every position, so that there's no confusion. But for me, my lineup, when I sit down to make out my lineup, it comes down to trust. It comes down to who do I think I trust most in a position. So I don't look at stat. I don't make my lineup out based on stats. Not that that's not an okay way to make your lineup up, but I want to know in my mind what I've seen through practices, through games, through I compute all that, and that is how I determine who goes where. It's a trust thing for me. So tell me, for you, do you identify with that trust thing, or are you more of like a nope, it's whoever's in the, this batting average goes here, this one goes here? How do you make up that lineup?
So that's two part for me. I'm a numbers geek. I'll come right out and say it. I am a numbers geek. I break down my own box scores. I break down box scores of everyone. I mean, I probably could put together your guys' box score and tell you what you guys are
Right,
doing.
right.
I do it for,
Sure.
just for fun. And I've gotten a little nerdy too, to where I'll go as far as spray charts, and I'll watch back game cast and see where certain kids are hitting balls. And I'm a nerd in
Right.
that way. And I do use that to set certain spots of the lineup, but I also I go on a lot of feel. If I feel a kid is starting to get hot, I'll make a move. And if I feel a kid is cooling off, I'll make a move. Now, there's certain spots in the lineup where I kind of want a certain kid there because of what they bring to that specific spot in the lineup. And that's something that, for me, it's that sticky situation, because you don't want to get into the habit of just putting a kid somewhere where they may not deserve, just because you feel a certain way. But if the numbers are backing up what you're doing, and I'll use the example. So we started the year, we had one girl hitting leadoff, and we had another girl, not a prototypical leadoff hitter look, and um, I could just see. I also see her for hitting lessons. I could see something was clicking, and
Mm-hmm.
she was starting to grind out at bats, and she was seeing a ton of pitches.
Okay.
So, that was a big stat for me. Pitches seen, quality at bats, things like that. I want to see that kind of stuff. And as soon as I seen she was hitting a level of like, okay, she looks like she's about to catch fire, I
Sure.
put her there, and she has been absolutely lights out there. I mean,
Okay.
she's and what I really like is she brings some pop. I mean, she was hitting 5, 6 starting the year, but I put her at leadoff because her on base was through the roof, and she was doing some things that I really liked. She's an athletic
Yeah.
kid, and she took off. And right away, our offense started taking off.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see, okay, now she's on. I got a slapper behind her. Now they're,
Yep.
let's face it, at 11, second base, if you get first base, second base is coming shortly.
Right.
That's
Right.
kind of the mentality I have on it. And by that time, now I got a slapper in behind that. And, you
Sure.
know, you're crashing the third baseman to take away my slapper. I'm stealing him behind third base, and looking where your shortstop is, or at least giving the illusion of it and putting
Yep.
pressure on. Now the catcher's, you know, shaking and trying to figure out
Yep.
what they want to do with things.
Right.
And then, you get to your middle of your lineup by that point, and she's taken off. And Um, there's been some girls where they just seem to come up clutch,
Yeah.
and I don't I don't have a word for it, but I they just come up and get big hits. When you need a big hit, they come up and they somehow find out to get that big hit, and they
Sure.
find a way to grind out that at bat. And you
Hmm.
know, I had a girl, who right now she's one of my more clutch hitters, and she's not hitting in the top half of the lineup, but when I need a big hit down there, she seems to come up with it, and you
Yeah.
know, it's feel, and it's
Yeah.
not trying to stack one spot. You want to stay,
Sure.
strong through and grind out at bats. So I guess
Sure.
there's no perfect answer to that. It's feel and it's numbers, and it's just kind of mixed.
Well, and I think that's a funny thing. If you're not a coach, I mean, it's so easy. I could look at my stat sheets and all my numbers, and I could tell you, kind of like you. You could say, okay, this is a one hitter. This is a two. This girl
Yep.
supplies power. She's a three.
Hmm.
But from a coach's perspective, there are certain things you learn about girls, and I hope that the girls are listening because I think this is really important as a player to know about a coach. Is I'm always watching in practice what girl is willing to take that extra swing. What girl gets that like look of determination on her face when she's put in a spot where she thinks she maybe should be higher in the lineup, or there's something that there are things that girls do in practice that aren't necessarily how many ground balls did you field, or it's sometimes that extra effort, but we're
Yeah.
always watching. We're always looking for that little bit of extra that tells me, in a clutch situation, which of you do I want to put in that lineup? It's something that you in your mind just kind of calculates and just kind of hangs on to some of those details
Yeah.
about who you trust in a situation where game is on the line. The way a girl practices tells a coach who they can trust in it. Sorry, my dog is
Oh,
flying
that's
in on
okay.
the conversation. But I think it's important for girls to know that if you're that kid that's always giving 110%, I don't care if it's your first ground ball, your 35th, or your 400th, coaches are looking for that little something, that little bit of grit. And that's what's going to put you in the lineup ahead of somebody else, or maybe in a clutch situation, no free throw shooters in this one, but who's going to come off the bench, or in a huge game,
Yeah.
who is going to get that nod? If you've got two girls that are neck and neck, it comes down to that just grit and the determination for me. So, and I think it's tough too, because as a parent, sometimes you see, you know,
Hmm.
that girl's made two errors this game, and my kid hasn't made any, and still this other girl's starting. Well, I've seen that other girl make 35 diving plays when she didn't have to. And
Yep.
so in a situation like this, I need that girl that's going to give me that little bit of extra, because I have the faith in her that she can get it done over the other girl. So,
Yeah, and that's a balance too. Just and I like to call them lights on players. There's certain players when the lights are on, they're a totally different player. But then you see them at practice, and you're like, where's that game energy?
yep,
Because you're going through the
yep,
motions here. What you do when nobody's really watching tells me a lot about
mm-hmm,
the attitude you have and the way you're going to play the game. And that, for me, that's a big thing too. Is I find myself, you know, seeing kids that may not be, at the same talent level as another kid, but I see they're working and I see they're busting their butt
mm-hmm,
constantly. They're
yep,
they're going above and beyond. Something for
yes,
me, and we had a girl last year who, with the Bandits, that talent wise, she wasn't where everyone else was. But I'll tell you what, that kid was the sweetest kid. She was the hardest working kid. If the
mm-hmm,
dugout had something in it, she was cleaning the dugout. She was picking up all the balls
right,
to the point where, as a coach, you're
yes,
okay. You know what? Hey, it's not your time. I'm not. You're done
yep,
picking stuff up. Everyone else, go figure out why you're not helping her. And that's
yes,
something that
exactly,
we had, and you root for those kids. And I heard you say something
yeah,
last week in the coaches' corner is coaches having favorites, and everyone likes to say no, you don't. You do. Coaches have their
yep,
favorites.
absolutely,
They do
yep,
have their favorites, and it's not always the most talented kid. It almost most
no,
most of the time it never is. It's the
mm-mm,
hardworking kids. It's the the
Absolutely.
kids that'll go the extra mile for you. It's the kids that are willing
Yeah.
to run through a wall, and if you say jump, they're going to
Yep.
ask how high,
Yep.
you know?
Kids that appreciate the opportunity. You know,
Yes.
they know what it's like to sit on the bench. And so when you put them in, it's that like, oh my God, yes, I'm so, you know, that passion and that love and that appreciation
Yes.
for what they have. And so, yeah, I, I,
So, so
you have to have a favorite there. And you know what? It's a funny story, but favorite doesn't mean you like them more. It just means you have a
no.
certain level of respect for them
Yes.
and what they do. And I'm all about loyalty. You know, I'm sure every coach says that. What coach is like, I'm not very loyal? You know, no one. But I really do. I value, like you said, I value families and great kids over winning any
Yes.
day. I would take a
Yes.
750 season, you know, not a 500 really, but
No, no
you
one
know,
wants that.
with a group of incredible kids versus winning a PGF title with a bunch of little kids that I wanted to strangle, because that would be awful. That's no fun. I don't want to
Yeah.
deal with crappy kids, and I don't want to deal with crappy parents. And thank God, I think, oh, uh-oh, he left. He didn't want to hear about crappy parents. Sorry guys, I'm gonna see if I can get him back here. Oh, oh, that's Lexi. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I don't
Hey.
know. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It just
I
said,
said
"Thank you
crappy
for
parents
joining."
and it kicked me off. I was just about to say neither of us have any, so we're super lucky this year.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
and that going back to that sit in the bench thing, and a lot of kids take that as a personal attack, and I'm sure you've dealt with it coaching for as long as you have, and I know I've dealt with it too, and as an assistant coach because you're more likely to hear from the parents than you are as a head coach. Just parents that view sitting the bench as a personal attack, or oh, they don't like my kid, or oh,
Yeah.
she should be playing over this person because this person made errors and stuff. And I'm gonna kind of put my kid on blast a little bit here because um she's my kid and I can do that. But um
Sure.
when we broke in, we had a really good head coach. I mean, really good head coach and a really good assistant coach. The head coach that she was playing for is now my assistant coach, and the assistant coach she was playing for actually head coach is Finesse G. So
Okay.
she was blessed to walk in the door with some amazing coaches. She probably
Sure.
played 30 innings in the field as an 8-year-old in 10U softball. And I tell people all the time, she didn't pout, she didn't cry, she didn't ask, you know, why she wasn't playing. She sat in the bucket during games right next to me, and there's so many pictures we have of, you know,
Yes.
her just sitting next to me on the bucket asking questions. How would you pitch this kid? Let's
Yep.
talk about the feet. Let's see how she stands in the batter's box. And for me,
Yes.
I would never give that season back. I would take that season 100 times out of 100 because she learned
Mm-hmm.
so much that
Oh
season
yeah.
from not being in the field. Instead of complaining
Yes.
and whining, and she sat on that bucket, and if people ask what position does she play? Bucket. That's
Yeah.
that was it,
Yep.
Now she did hit. She hit, but as far as the field, she just wasn't there. We had great players in front of her, and she had to claw scratch for everything she got. And I appreciate that and respect the heck out of the coaches for not just
Yep.
giving her anything because they, could have.
Exactly. Yep. Sure. That's what, I had a parent mention a couple of weeks ago. Their daughter moved down to the bottom of the depth chart in a certain position. And I'll just be honest, it was my husband that came to me like, what is happening? Why is JC all the way at the bottom? What's going on? And we talked, and JC wasn't thrilled about it either. But you know what? When that happens, it's not about being at the bottom. It's about what are you going to do now? Like, who cares what
Yeah.
position, what spot you're at in the depth chart? What I care about as a coach is what you're willing to do about that. Does that make you mad? Does that make you want to pout and cry to your dad
Hmm.
that you're at the bottom of the depth chart? Or does that make you go, where's my tee? I'm going out to throw.
Yeah.
And I think for all of our kids, that's what I saw. Is I saw them all go, oh no, that's not where I want to be somewhere different and say, hey
Yeah.
coach, how do I move up on the depth chart? You know, well, that's what this is all about. It's not all about your child being the best all the time. It's
Yeah,
about what is your child willing to do when they're mad about where they sit, when they think they deserve more, then prove it, you know? And I,
absolutely.
like me, we have a group of kids, and thank God, group of parents that are not going to let them say, oh, you poor thing. They're going to say, get out and earn it then, you know?
Figure it
So
out.
we're super lucky. Yes.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna leave some time for questions here. But most importantly, Tim, I think this is the biggest question I have for you tonight, and the question that
Oh,
everyone wants to know the answer to, because you have to be, in terms of as intense as you are out on the field and as much as you expect from your girls, you're probably one of the most fun coaches I know. You and Roy are real close, because I saw Roy with some kind of like wig on
oh
not
yeah.
long ago, maybe a
Roy's a
dress, I
character
don't
too,
know, but
man.
yep. But I am always seeing you, I should say, value laughter. So tell me a little bit about kind of your approach to that.
Oh, so,
If there was a way for me to show the TikTok of the swap, I would do that
oh
right
man. Yeah,
now.
so,
Send
so,
up I'll set up a link, everyone.
yeah, it's definitely, something that growing up, I was not that kind of kid. I was not the, out there person. I was really reserved and really calm. And one of the things that I've really started to understand is if you will do something and you're willing to do it, the girls will then follow. If you're willing to make fun of yourself and not take yourself too serious, they're not going to take themselves too serious. If you're
Right.
willing to be vulnerable and get made fun of, they're gonna,
TikTok Tim, I see
yeah,
on
thanks,
there.
Wyatt. Thanks, buddy. Um, that's what it comes down to for me is
Fair.
I'm willing to, get laughed at. Doesn't bother me at all. I'm comfortable with who I am. I want them to be comfortable with who they are. I want them to, you know, and a phrase we use a lot is get comfortable being uncomfortable because
Yes.
everything's not going to go according to plan in softball. It's not going to go according to plan in life. It's
Right.
definitely something you got to, adjust on the fly. And, you know, I think that for me, they always know that I can be that funny guy and we can have a great time. And it also makes when I'm serious, they know I'm not playing.
Right.
So, being able to flip that switch,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of keeps them on edge a little bit to
Sure.
where, hey, yeah, we'll just go through. Whoa, he looks really mad today. Maybe we should
Right.
figure this thing
We should
out. And
make
then,
the adjustment. Yeah.
yeah, and the next thing, we're laughing and going again. And it's funny, like PGF. So the PGF tournament in the fall, we warmed up the first game of the day. So Saturday, we warmed up every game. We were super serious. We were like, I was a military man. We're on time schedules.
Yes.
Da, da, da.
Yes.
Bracket play, we turned around, we warmed up the first game of the day. This From that point on, we warmed up our pitchers as usual. We threw a couple sandballs, got a couple swings in, and then we danced. It was just dancing. They would get on the field, we
Yeah.
turned the music on, and that's what they did. And they were so loose. They weren't afraid to make a mistake. They were, amped up beyond belief to play games. And for me, then it really clicked. It was like, you kind of figure out what kind of group you have early on
Yes.
in the fall.
Yep.
And I figured, okay, we're not going to be one of those drill sergeant minute by minute breakdown teams for warm ups. And, we're going to have a schedule, but we're not going to go with it all the time.
Sure.
And I figured out real quick this team needs music. If we have music, we are a completely different team than if we
Yeah.
don't have music.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's crazy. I mean, even at practices, same thing. If we got music blasting, total different team than
Yeah.
if it's super quiet. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah, I think laughing, I think having fun. I think at the end of the day, they still have to realize this is a game.
Right.
It's we want to win, we want to be competitive, you want to play the best, but man, they're 11 years old. They really
Yeah.
just gotta enjoy it too,
Absolutely.
you
Yep.
know?
We work with a group of girls. the level that we play at, I don't know if everybody, I have to remind my girls sometimes, like, do you guys realize you play at the highest level possible for your age? You are
Yeah.
not playing. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable. And we have two of the better 11U teams in the state. So we're talking about coaching 24 of the top players in the state of Michigan at this
Yeah.
level. It doesn't take a ton of us having to be military, having to be, they do a lot of that on their own. Their
Yep.
demands and their expectations of themselves are so far up here. Sometimes our job becomes just to help them stay grounded and be a part of, a better reality for them. Like,
Yeah.
you're 11, you're not going to bat 700 at the highest level possible. It's just not going to happen. But I am more, I'm more by the minute. I'm more by the book. Everything has to be like detailed. And so when I look at your stuff, I think to myself, oh gosh, I should probably loosen up a little bit. But I think the most important thing as coaches that we can be to our kids is genuine, whatever it
Yes.
is. If we're trying to be something we're not, if you're trying to
Yep.
be a drill sergeant and that's just not who you are, or you're trying to be, super funny and you don't know how to be, they're gonna see that, like,
Hmm.
who is this? So I think us just being any coach, being yourselves, and like you said, accepting this is who I am, being very clear about it to your parents and to
Yep.
your kids, and here are my expectations, and whether that's you're here on the dot from this time to this time, or hey, we're gonna crank the music up and we're gonna dance it out for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I think being upfront and honest and being true to yourself and to your team, and recognizing, like you said, what do they need from me? That's huge.
And there's no wrong answer to that. Every
Exactly.
group's going to be different. The next group
Yep.
could be, hey, need all this structure. I mean, our practices, they're timed out minute by minute. Do they always
Yep.
go that way? Nope.
Right. Depends on how well they're doing that
Yeah.
day.
Yep.
So yeah. All right. Well, I know that this kicks us off here in like 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to open it up. We would love questions, for Coach Tim, or I'm happy to answer any from any of the girls or any of the parents, ranging from whatever. We want Tim to link all of his TikToks here in the comments, and we can ask him to do that.
Oh, nobody wants to see that. So I'll ask you one. I'll kind of
Sure.
flip the script here, and I'll ask you one while we're waiting for questions. I know it's something that's really hard for me, and I know it is for really hard for other coaches as well. Drawing that line of parent coach. How hard is it for you?
My daughter's sitting right next to me, and she just laughed a lot about that question. It's very, very difficult. I think one of the most important things that I can relay to JC is that there will always be somebody telling you that the only reason you're playing is because I'm your parent. So I tell her all the time, I'm sorry, life isn't fair, but your reality is that you have to work harder than anyone else, or you're not going to earn, just because you have the highest batting average on the team doesn't mean that you get to have more. You have to be seen doing more.
Hmm.
And you have to earn it more than everybody. And that's nobody's fault. That's just how it is when you're a coach's kid. It's just the reality of it. And so I think her and I are finding a better way of saying, we had a very nice conversation where I sat down the other day and just said, what do we need to do? Like, this isn't fun. What do we need to do differently to make it fun for both of us? Because in the end, that's all I want. I want this to be the most incredible experience for her. And if it isn't that, then we have to figure out either a way to make that better, or one of us has to go. So we've gotten pretty good at having that line of communication open, so that we can actually say the things that we need to, versus 2 years ago, I would just yell at her a lot and she would just hate me. That didn't go well. So
Yeah.
how about for you?
Oh, this year it's been great. I can tell you this year has been a godsend. I can pinpoint the exact date and the exact tournament of when I knew for sure. Um, I was ridiculous, and it was right after a game versus Indiana Gators. She struck out with a runner at third base, tying run at third base. on a pitch that, after watching the video back, was in the left-handed batter's box. Being at first base, that I couldn't see that.
Right.
Immediately, what are you looking at? Well, now I know what you were looking at. The ball wasn't close. But
Mm-hmm.
before I could make that assessment, I gave it to her. And people looked at me, and I'm like, man, what am I doing? And then we got in the car, and
Right.
it didn't stop in the car. It was a long, quiet ride home from Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was the best and the worst thing that ever happened to me, because I really figured it out. Like, okay, who are you coaching for her? Are you coaching for yourself? Is she
Sure.
playing for you, or is she playing for
Mm-hmm.
herself? We need to
Yeah.
figure this out. And by we, I mean I need to figure this out, because she wasn't doing anything wrong. And for me, that was 100% the turning point for me. And at that point, it became, you know, and the other thing is, again, like you talked about, coach's kid, it comes with the territory, is the term that I use
Mm-hmm.
a lot in this
Yeah.
house. And people look at you and they think you get
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
undeservedly. So therefore, if you didn't go 5 for 4 that day, you
Yep.
know, you better go 5 for 4, or you're
Yep.
not eating tonight,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's when I really started to put it into perspective for me that, okay, I'm out of line. This is
Yeah.
ridiculous. She's a good player.
Yep.
She's not always going to get a hit. You need
Yep.
to calm it down and really, pull in the reins. And I can tell you, since then, we've maybe had one, but it's been fantastic. And
Good.
that was the best thing that could have happened to me, was that moment, because I embarrassed myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that, the majority, I don't know about your staff, but I know we have 5 coaches on staff and they're all parents. You just don't, nobody's coaching anymore without a kid on the team, because it's not, this is like a
Yeah.
full-time job. So nobody's doing it without a kid. So it's important to have that realistic. And I thankfully, I have 2 coaches that are always giving me that reality check of, okay, let's think about this, and they give me their perspective on things, and it helps me see things from a different perspective, like, oh, okay, you're right. So I
Hmm.
think that it's super helpful to have a staff full of other coaches that can help kind of keep you grounded as well,
Yeah.
and not just with your own kids but with others. I tend to react pretty quickly. I really don't like laziness. I really don't like a nonchalant attitude. So the second that I see it, I'm immediately like, put him out of the bottom of the depth
Yeah.
chart. It makes it so. But then coaches are like, she's 11. Take a breath. I'm like, okay, fine. You're right.
Yeah.
So having that staff is so incredibly important. And I don't know how many people. There's no way to coach at this level without being surrounded by incredible
Yes.
people. You can't win. You can't even compete at this level if it's only you. It doesn't matter how good you are or how much
Hmm.
you know. If you don't have awesome people around you watching the other 37 things going on, you can't compete.
Yep. And that's
So,
same on this side. The assistant coach I have, head coach for the 2 years that we played with the Diamonds, and he's done a really good job of reeling it in, man. Just, hey, reel it in, reel
yep,
it in, reel it in. And
yep,
he plays off of me on such a masterful level when it comes to my daughter, to the point of, you know, keeps me in check, and
mhm,
keeps me grounded. Hey, she's a good player. Good players
right,
make mistakes, still gonna happen.
yep,
Just
still
because she
happens.
missed one ground ball out of 25 doesn't mean she needs to run.
Yep, yep, exactly.
So,
Yeah,
and that's something that, like you talked about, good people, just surrounding yourself with good people, knowledgeable people, people that see, the everyday struggles. And I know that was one of the questions that you had put on the list, was the sacrifices you make to do this at this
right.
level, and the amount of time that goes into it. And, you know, if you don't have people that support you on that, then
Yeah,
you're really gonna be in a lonely
yes,
tree, man.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for tonight. But I really appreciate you, hopping on and joining us. I think this has been super fun. Hopefully, everybody took a tip or two. Last question that I'm going to ask you real quickly, just because this is my favorite question for coaches, because I think that this is one of the most important things that at least I want my girls to know. But so the question is, when you're watching another team, what is another girl? What is that thing that other girl does on the other team that makes you go, man, I really like her?
Hustle.
Hustle.
Just hustle. If you outwork everybody,
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that kid. I'll take a kid that outworks, has a great attitude, and we can fix the skills level.
Yeah.
You can fix skill.
Yep.
You can't teach grind, you can't teach
Nope.
hustle.
Nope.
That stuff, either you have it or you don't, and you figure
Mm-hmm.
out real quick, the higher you go in this, if you don't have it, you're gonna fall, because
Absolutely.
coaches are gonna start overlooking you. You better have a really good attitude. You better, put yourself out
You
there
want.
and bust your
Yeah.
butt.
Absolutely. And you better be the girl in the dugout that the other team comes to. My team comes off the field. They're like, do you hear that girl in the dugout? She is so loud. And I'm like, yeah, I love her. Like, she's annoying you.
She's my
She's
fave.
doing her job. So,
Yep, that's my
it
fave.
takes heart and it's a pride to do that. So I have a lot of respect for it. So, well, thanks, Tim. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part of this. It's been super fun. Always great to talk to you. So hopefully our girls, I saw them going back and forth with like some heart
Oh yeah, yeah. I
wars
saw
there.
the heart battle going
Yes,
on and the
that was
muscle battle, and
awesome.
yeah,
Our
oh
girls
yeah, I
are
saw
always
that.
competing. Yes, and that's what I love. I love your girls. I love their competitive nature. I love that our girls kind of have this like, ooh, there's that team. But then after they're like, oh, did you see Maddie? Did you see this girl? And did you see that girl? And they still have a tremendous amount of respect for each other. So I think that's really cool that we have a group that can be so competitive yet still respect each other enough to, have that friendship outside. So.
Yeah, and I think like half your team now follows me on TikTok as well. So
Oh yeah,
that's
that's for
that
sure.
that
I'll
that that
create one just
escalated
so I
quickly.
can follow you. Yep.
Well, thank you
So
for having me. I appreciate it. This is fun. Anytime,
good.
if you're looking for someone, anytime,
Okay.
I'll always talk softball. So you
Okay.
won't have to twist my arm.
All right. Sounds like a plan. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight. See
See
you
you guys.
guys.